Welcome, everybody, to another effing podcast recap on this little thing I'm calling the Road to Worlds. So today we're doing a full-on Texas recap. And I say full-on. It's not going to be really full-on because Travis already got ahead of me on Emmanuel's thing. So we're kind of getting like half of that, a little bit of Emmanuel's, then like a smidge of mine because you don't want to hear how I did. That was bad. But today, as I banter and everybody gets a chance to get in on this channel, I'm going to go ahead and introduce it. If you are capable of reading, you know full well who my guests are today. First and foremost, we have the winner of the Texas Materia Cup, Sam Tuell.
Hello.
Welcome, Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, buddy. You know what? We don't get to hang out enough. I only get to catch you at tournaments, and I feel like it's one of those things that it's like I'll catch you, and we'll have small little conversations, but I haven't had a good sit down. So I'm lucky to be here because I know we were geeking out about Monster Hunter board game, and I'm like extra intrigued by that now.
It's good. It's real good.
More of that for later.
Still covering my entire kitchen table.
Yes, as it should. Legacy games need to be covered. Also with me, he's a homie. He's my Leo gamer for life. That is number 2 finisher from the Texas Re-Raise Materia Cup. Dang it, it's because we said it earlier. That's Emmanuel Oñate. What's up, brother?
Hello.
So, fun fact, Emmanuel, I was meaning to tell you this. Whenever I was watching Travis's video covering your day and the whole event, I noticed that you didn't have the tilde over your N on your name. And then I was like, cool, well, I'm going to one-up Travis and get that tilde in there. And I won't lie, it took me longer than I care to admit to figure out how to get that there.
I'm not gonna lie, I definitely noticed that actually when you posted it on the NA page. I was like, oh, he got the tilde there. Yeah.
Bro, you got
well done.
You got to respect where people come from, man. Come on now. That's
well,
cool.
see, I'm curious, does Emmanuel, do you know like the Unicode like type in for that in? Because like I personally know the E with the accent because of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't. I used to have a keyboard that would do it. Change my keyboard settings because I used to do translation work. But now what I do is I just I Google Spanish N and then I copy and paste it.
That works too. Yeah, no, for anybody out there who's curious, you hold down Alt key and then 130 and it'll pop up the Pokemon E.
Huh.
There's your little life hack.
That's something I'm going to relevantly know and use in the future, actually. Boys, how are we doing after Texas? We're like almost a week separated from the event. How are we feeling?
I'm personally not too bad. Still a little personally in shock that the event went as well as it did for me. It was a really smooth event. Like we didn't have any repairs, nothing like that. But just overall, it was a very good event. I'm really glad a lot of people were able to make it out. We had really good attendance and just overall genuinely happy.
Yeah, same, man. Texas was pretty awesome. I actually just came back from Dallas yesterday. Just flew back in, stayed an extra few days for some business stuff, and I was pretty impressed with the city. Always great seeing the homies, of course. And the event was smooth. Like Sam said, no repairs. I don't think I could have survived if it went any longer because I took a few naps in the car in between rounds. So I'm glad it went as smooth as it did. So overall good event, and I'm happy.
Yeah, props to Emmanuel. I was surprised he was even able to make it through the day. He was out partying a little bit over the weekend, and man was running on actual fumes, but somehow still pulled out second. So that was wild. The fact that you were functioning alone.
That's been like the running discussion at Texas for a minute, right? Because I forget who I was talking to. I think it was Kelly or somebody was saying like, they're like, yeah, well, I haven't eaten today because Matt said that was the trick to just doing all his tournaments. You just don't eat, you don't sleep, you don't use the bathroom at all that day. And then I was like, is that how you're like unlocking Ultra Instinct? Like, what's the deal here?
Yeah, that's definitely Oki's like part of his ritual is he refuses to like go to the bathroom during like all Swiss. So the full bladder like keeps him like pressured. He's like, if I release it, then I'm not going to feel the pressure to like keep going. Bro, that just sounds uncomfortable. But
Matt, if you're watching this, that's how you get UTIs. Don't do that. That's not ritual. That's and you're too old for that, brother. Come on.
the funny thing is, he'll also drink like two big bottles
Right.
of water at the same time. It's like you gotta pick one or the other.
Yeah. No, that
He's
makes
just testing his limits, man.
I know. The man has no limits. It's been the first
Obviously not.
Meta Potion TCG in chat says F.
No UTIs yet. So
No UTIs yet. I'm well. That's because he keeps drinking the water, but it's bad for you, man. That's bad for you. Just letting you know. But more about bladder culture and all that a little bit later. So, guys, I want to talk about the tournament. For those wondering how I did, I got in fighting game terms, we call it getting freed up. That means I did not do well. I brought Ice Lightning to the tournament, and in record-breaking heat, I probably there's some irony in play here that I'm recognizing, but yeah, I did very bad. I just straight up cheated in one game that folded after we realized that. So really quick funny story. So I played John from Puerto Rico. I forget his last name right now. Handsome John. He models. You know, we all know if I'm talking about that. Hard to keep a shirt on in his Twitter pictures. So I played him. Delightful, as most people are in the community. We ended up on the mirror, and I'm like, well, what the fuck are those odds that we end up against the Ice Lightning mirrors on round one? And he aggroes me down, and we're both kind of just like tunnel vision anxiety game one. I don't know about you two, but for me, game one is always peak anxiety. Like, I start the day and it feels like it's going to set the whole tone for me. So I'm tunnel visioned in. I have 2 CP Physalis out because I was trying to look for some outs. And then I play 5 CP Physalis, and we're just kind of jamming. And I'd miss it. He misses it. So we're both responsible. It's obviously not intentional. Matt Rice finishes his game, looks up, looks over, and just says, how does 2 Physalis get on the board? Walks off, doesn't elaborate further. Like, I looked at the board, and I was just like, oh, shit. Yeah. Nah, scoop. I just scooped because I think that's what I was going to do at that moment. But yeah. So, and from there, it proceeded to be just as bad. So that's fine. I gave all my energy to Emmanuel that day because motherfucker ran all the way to second. Didn't even have sleep that day. Bro, he knew I was screaming.
Yeah, that sounded rough after you told me round one. I was just like, oh no, it's just so bad to do it in round one, right? And
Dude.
you can get it out of your head, but it's tough. So
it is
just unlucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially starting with something exactly like that. Mm-hmm. I can definitely be a little rough, and I mean, mental is a big part of any game, but especially a card game where you're in person. It's fairly easy to get rattled, and it's important to be able to try to like move past those things and try to like recollect your thoughts and kind of like refocus in. And I don't know if I have any like magic tricks to it or anything, but I wish I did, because that definitely is a thing. I think everybody struggles a little bit with making sure that you can stay focused after having something especially like that, where it's like I don't know about you, but personally, anything that I am personally responsible for, like the Physalis situation, I would feel just awful, and it is hard to shake that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually
go ahead.
I actually had a similar situation. I'm lucky it was the game right before lunch break, but it was against Joe on Ice Earth, and I was fairly late into the game, and I was on one of my storm. Well, I wasn't quite on a storm turn, but I was going in casting my second spell. There was a Tomos in play. I had a bunch of other stuff I was kind of planning, and he asks how many cards are in hand, and I go 2. Just quickly, I didn't even like really double check or anything, and then he goes, oh, okay, well, he has a Sarah Mobius out. He responds to Atomos's trigger, makes me try to cancel the Atomos trigger. I let that resolve because it's effectively the same thing as just pitching a card from hand. But then I went to go play my next card, and I play the card, and he looks and he's like, you still have a card in hand. So you had 3 cards in hand. I was like, I guess I did. And he didn't ask to back it up or anything, and we definitely could have, but it is that is on me. Saying
Right.
one
Translating
thing
the
and
information not the right way, and that's like your
absolutely.
responsibility. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think ultimately it would have made any difference because, if he didn't, target the Atomos trigger, I would have had the 2 to pay for
Mhm.
whatever else he negated, which ended up being a Typhon to get rid of his Ceramobius, right? I would have had the 2 CP from the Atomos untapping, but it is still awkward to, accidentally misrepresent a board state like that.
Right. And I definitely think it comes back to that idea. You never want to feel like your intentions are going to be misread, like that it was ever like, oh, I'm trying to do this on purpose. Like as soon as we caught it, I was immediately like, no, that deserves a scoop. Like I
Yeah.
mean, it had only been on the field for a turn, but then I could easily just unfreeze and undraw at that point. But I was just like, no, it's like it's a guilt thing. I'm like, I'm gonna prove that I'm a better player on the moral ground by sitting here and owning my shit that bad, right? Like, all right, let's scoop. That's next game. Move on.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my big sweat moment for the day. The rest of the day, I kind of just get rolled. Everybody aggroes me down to oblivion, and that felt real bad. I never, and it was one of those days, man. I don't know what it is about the middle of the country. On the coast, I perform well. You put me in Kansas, you put me in Texas, I just get washed, man.
It's
All
the
my
climate.
energy. It is. Sam, you get it. You're suffering from the climate still to date. But the middle of the country, man, I like there were so many times I had like a board ripe for Ixioning, and that card just did not want to come to my hand at all. Sephiroths were in the break zone. I didn't play one the entire day. They were always the first card in damage. Just felt so bad. But I don't want to talk so much about me because your guys' stories are much more interesting on the day. So for those who don't know, if you want to know more about Emmanuel's whole run, he goes in great detail over on Travis's channel. So make sure to go check that out. Go give a follow. Go give it a listen. It's a good listen. That was my morning podcast this morning. Emmanuel, I got to hear your sweet voice all day this day. So
I'm so sorry.
No. It was good. I was intrigued because I was getting those chickens throughout the day, but I wanted to hear the more in-depth stuff on it. So that was fun.
He really tested my memory, man. Everybody who knows me real well knows I have an absolutely dog memory. Like it's not good. So I got to try real hard when I'm playing cards because you play a card a turn ago, I'll forget what you played. So
right,
we got there though.
We got that goldfish brain going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we can remember our last turn maybe most of the time. Sam, I don't know about you remembering your last turns because your turns tend to do 10 or 12 things in a turn. So
Yeah, definitely. Usually I'm pretty good at memorizing, stuff like that. I did personally take, like usually after an event, I take like a little bit of notes just to help me like refresh, especially like opponent's name or whatever else is, going on
Right.
in those matches that's important. But yeah, I generally remember most of what I went through. So I ended up 6-1 in Swiss, which was pretty good. My only loss ended up being to Mike Powell on
Yeah.
Earth Lightning Turk, and I will tell you, I tried to make him work for it, but that game was squarely in his ballpark the entire game. Really came down to like he got quite a few early Ramos off on me, and usually there were 2-for-1s, which created some very bad exchanges of CP for me. Then as we got into the mid late game, I had stolen a chaos from him, and he played an X Death, and so I played his chaos to steal his X Death, which was active and ticking away cards, and then he played his own X Death again, and then I rapidly lost my board, and he was able to rebuild pretty easily because his deck has a lot more backups than mine.
But at one point, you guys just have 2 of his excess staring at each other across the board.
That is correct. Yeah. It was very funny.
Yeah.
There was a certain point in the game where we each had about 30 cards removed from game. And we're just sitting here, piles of cards removed, 2 X deaths staring at each other across the board. And I'm like, except he can kind of swing with his, because if his dies, he could like Kusith it back.
Right.
If his dies, he gets it back, and that's not good for me.
Yeah, turns out Recursion's a little better with Earth Lightning than it is with Wind. Not to say that Wind can't, but
doesn't need it.
Yeah.
True. We got Ashura for that. That's the only card that we really need for Recursion.
So 6-1 over the day. Your only losses on that. As far as the other games go, Sam, I'm intrigued because you're the one who's you're breaking bread over here, buddy. We'd made an agreement this meta. Let's not play Icewind. Let's not play Wind for a while, and everybody was super chill about it. And then here comes Sam Tuell right into Texas. He said, "Hey, I heard that 13's scared of mono water. Sounds like," and I don't know if this was your thinking about it, but seems like there was gonna be an eventual moment. Somebody was gonna have to be the first to break it, and then here comes Sam. So Sam, tell me a little bit about your thinking of going in on Storm and kind of taking it to the right time, because this has definitely been a shifting meta. So I think picking the right time to bring it is so much the name of the game.
Yeah. So first things first, I brought approximately 500 cards to Texas.
Of course.
I was not 100. I probably had 5 solid decks picked out that I really liked. Icewind being one of those 5.
Did you roll a dice for it again?
I did. It did not roll Icewind, so I betrayed it. But I discussed this with Kyle Peters, and honestly, he kind of looked at me and was like, "None of those decks are real decks except for Warrior of Light." And I showed him, all the other decks I was thinking of. He's like, "Nah, those are all fake decks." Like, okay, fair enough. But I will definitely say, like, Icewind, I was a little bit more like steeled to play it due to it doing well in Paris. But everybody, of course, the first thing that people say when they talk about the Paris Materia Cup, it's a 2-deck format. That's how they got away with it. I mean, it's partially true, but I genuinely think there was only one real matchup that I really needed to dodge. If I happened to see it in Top Cut, maybe that's the end. But another way I kind of looked at that is I played Leo in Kansas. It was the exact same situation. I was willing to play Leo then. I think Icewind is as good or better of a deck than Leo was. Why not just play it again? So that's a lot of the thought process there. I'll be honest. Until I played Icewind in Philadelphia last year, or not Philadelphia. Was it Philadelphia? Wherever the Materia Cup that was 2-deck last year.
I think it was Philly.
Yeah. So I played that last year. I haven't touched the deck since then. And I put all those decks together on like the Wednesday before the event, and then we show up at the Airbnb, and I play against Justin Jacoby, who, of course, famous water player, good water player. I sit down, I have like a jerry-rigged version of the Icewind that I kind of want to play for the weekend, and I get like 3 turns into the game, and the only thing I've really done different in this Icewind from my old Icewind was I play in the Moogle 11 and the Chocomogs, and I get.
I'm so glad that tech's coming back, by the way.
Yeah, and I tell you, I get 5-6 turns into the game. I just go ahead and start messaging people. I'm gonna need this card. I'm gonna need this card. I'm playing this deck this weekend. This deck's fun as hell, and I do think the Moogle 11 was, props to the player in Europe.
That was Shane. Shane in the Terra decks. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm always in his DMs with that stuff because
I mean, props to them. I wasn't ever going to try that probably until I saw it on a list, and yeah, it was a really great idea, and it definitely smooths out just adding in so many layers. Over the weekend there was so few times where I top decked poorly, but that's partially due to the deck design. There are just so many ways that you can dig yourself out of whatever situation you're in. And I'm sure there are a bunch of times where even like some playtest games like Friday night where I was just drawing, and then like Brian Berkeley be behind me like, "Ooh, you could maybe do that." He's like, "Oh, or you could do that." And it's like, like we'd come up with like 20 different lines out of like almost brick looking hand,
right?
And that's a crazy situation to kind of be at,
bro. Just Sildra, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Chen made that joke a lot, where it's like I'm looking at Chocomog almost like I'm looking at Sildra. Because sometimes I am, especially being able to go get that Ice Moogle, getting the Moogle 11. The deck is just really, really efficient and I would guess consistent, right? Like that's probably the biggest thing.
Now, I would pull up the deck and show it, but as you guys may or may not know, the lists are not up on FF Decks just yet. So, Sam, unless you want to DM me the list, and I can put it up, we can kind of break that down a little bit. In the meantime, while we're talking about that, Manny, I wanna do this little segment, and these are my little Q-ins, right? Because I don't want to leave you hanging while we're bouncing between this and this. I mentioned I mentioned my sweaty moment of the day, but I went ahead and looked at your guys' clips from the tournament, and I think I found some of your guys' sweaty moments. So while we'll call it a loading break for the deck, even though I have it queued up and I could easily just pull it up right now. I'm going to pull up this clip of your match against Kyle Peters real quick.
Ooh, the slog.
All right.
Oh, that's a board state.
First of all, just mono water things, am I right? Like, so you put him on 6. This isn't your best look, man. I won't lie to you. And not because I'm faulted you, but it's like you're on 6, and this is a match that Kyle does end up winning. But I want to see if we together, the 3 of us, who I think are decent players, can figure out, is there lethal here or not? Because I hear Travis mentioning it in commentary, and I know he'd mentioned it on the review, and I want him to go back and look at this for that exact reason. So
yeah, I saw a couple of the comments, I think in stream later, talking about it. I haven't reviewed it. Like, I just kind of glazed over it because, man, I'm just catching up. But
yeah, for sure.
Let's see, because it was a hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was a hard board state there to kind of see through. I just didn't want to die on the crackback, so
no,
I think I played a little too cautiously.
And that's a big argument for this discussion, right? So quick recap on the board state. It's on your turn where I stopped the match. KP, I think, has 3 cards in hand. And this is the board state. You just swung with Titus, and Blue Worm is in break zone or in damage. So from here, maybe he has 4 cards. Okay, all the more reason to be cautious, right? He's got 5. Never mind. He's got a loaded.
No, he had a grip, and he had Kadaj coming back, so that was all kind of playing in my head.
Right. So you do swing on Tonberry then, right? Because the Tonberry goes sideways on this one.
Yep, Tonberry swinging. I just want to see what he's going to give me.
Now, Kyle's going to flip his cards for about 12 more hours, and then we'll eventually see an action rebuttaled on this one. But, I mean, just looking at the numbers, right? We have 4 attackers. We have 4 blockers. I think if you're just looking, and if you're in tournament mode and you guys are doing the tournament anxiety hand shuffles as we all see it, bro, if I'm looking at those numbers and I'm like, I just break even at that point, right? And you're on 6 also, or is that 5? No, you're on 5. You're on 5 at that point, and his Kadaj is going to be coming in. Yeah. First of all, brother, if I'm you, I don't even get here. I just have a panic attack and leave the whole tournament at that point, because that's so many things to keep up with. Do you remember anything at all about this mindset or this part of the match?
I mean, yeah, like I don't remember if one of those Blue Worms had just come in. I don't know if they could have all swung. The other thing is that the Titus can block the Blue Worms, right? So, like, if he chumps the Echidna, I can't get through with the Blue Worms, but I did have a bounce spell in hand, and I can't tell if I got him at 6 or 5, but I think there was a play there where I bounced something and then I'm able to get there. Especially, I think, if I just bounce the Titus, because, like, I don't care that he draws. Well, I do care because he can then just bounce one of my guys. That's what's going through my head, right? Like, he's got 5 cards in hand. I don't think he leaves himself open to get lethal on that kind of board with 5 in hand. So really what I'm scared of here is a bounce spell in his hand that obviously I can't see. And I don't know if we could see it in the video if he actually had one or not. But
no, I think the only thing he has is he has the cancel Leviathan summon, and he has Cooch. Those are kind of only his like responses. He's got Lightning, Lena, and then Big Levi.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he has one, but that definitely is just like a big concern. You know, and especially you know, like as a commentator, right? Like, Travis may have had knowledge to that. But Emmanuel as a player may not have, you know, obviously doesn't know every card in his opponent's hand. So it in his mind, it's probably, you know, 3 Leviathans. And it's just gonna,
it's always,
you know,
that. It's
like he's gonna go all in, and then he's gonna get Leviathan. And it would just be a disaster. So I would worry about that type of situation. Just trying to put myself in Emmanuel's spot,
Yeah.
especially being in such a tense spot well, a lot of times when a player does something that looks weird, especially to like commentators or Twitch chat or something, a lot of times it is trying to play around some of the things their opponents could have in hand.
Right. And I, for the record, I'm 100% siding with you, Emmanuel. I think that fearing the clapback on this one, knowing that he's got a gun full of Leviathans in his hand, effectively speaking, I'm agreeing and saying that, yeah, I think if you turn everything sideways, and I don't recall if one of the blue worms had just been played that turn or not.
I mean, even if it hasn't, right? We're looking at the board right now.
Right.
Tom Brady's already swung. I don't know what happened here. I think did I bounce his blue worm?
No,
damage
you
in?
had to use the
No?
you had to use your Leviathan
it just died.
Cobra.
Yeah, so it just died. So now we've got Echidna, blue worm, and he's got Tonberry, Truss, and Titus. So I still, even if I have one bounce spell here, I mean, maybe the bounce spell gets it if he's at 6.
Yeah.
But I still don't see how, because his 2 blockers are 7Ks, right? So
yeah,
who's getting over? I didn't see it, and I still don't. So that's why I was kind of like, going to review this later and see if I did have lethal. But I don't have that many cards left in hand, and I don't think I have a way to bounce 2 of his forwards. Is kind of where we're at.
I think it's unreasonable lethal, right? Like, if you know everything commentators in the stream knows, sure. Like, there's an objective argument lethal's on the board. But if, to exactly Sam's point, if you're the player not knowing every card in Kyle's hand, that is, bad players would think that that's lethal turn left, and then like 13 players. Now I'm going to distinct that they're not the same, but 13 players, they're like, we're turning sideways, baby. We're turning sideways until you die or I die. That's it. But
yeah, if we are trying to objectively look and see if there, given perfect knowledge, if there was a route to lethal here. So one of the things I do note is, Emmanuel did pitch the Leviathan to Echidna, which was his only summon in hand to be able to activate Echidna. However, if he had played Tro first, to be able to draw a card when he activate or when he does bounce something, he could go ahead and play the Tro, and then start his attack in. When Kyle inevitably activates Tro to block, he could Leviathan bounce his Tro, which could draw Emmanuel a card, which could be another Leviathan, which could then bounce like the Tonberry or something.
Right.
And that is probably the only line I'm currently seeing into lethal. And then he would almost need to draw either another summon to be able to activate his Echidna, or another Leviathan specifically to be able to bounce one of the monsters.
Right. Yeah. I do remember just simply having Tross in hand and looking at it and being like, oh, I missed a draw. And yeah, it could have made the difference, but it's also, what was I going to draw next? I don't know. So it was hard. I'm not excusing myself. I definitely had a line to win the game. And kind of, respecting his board state, I should have, kind of noticed, like, I don't know if I can defend myself too well. He's, he can probably game me next turn, but I think I might've been holding a cancel Amat or a Drew one or a cancel Levy, kind of foreseeing the Leviathan that, surely was going to come down. He's got 5 cards in hand, but no way it's not coming down. He doesn't have a Lena in hand. There's no way. But yeah, stuff happens.
I
wish we would have recorded the
and
first
to be
game.
clear,
it was a good slog.
Yeah. And to be clear, like if Kyle did have like 1 or 2 more Leviathans in hand to just bounce any of Emmanuel's field, obviously that just kind of just makes it so Emmanuel definitely can't get in there at that point. So it's like that's just something that unfortunately Emmanuel's guy like try to play around, but like there's trying to go all in when your opponent's got a bunch of things like that are rough.
Yeah. And I think that, again, a good reason why I wanted to pull this clip up is not necessarily to say was Manny good or Manny bad play or not. I think that this was a big thing for me to sit there and say, one, I mean, we got 2 other players, so I also want to do commentary on it. But B, I think that that's something if you're a chat player, right? If you're in chat or you're watching this and it's just like, I wonder what the insight in on this is, right? Like, if I could, and if it was ever a viable option, I would love to have like a manager seat where I could just be in the earpiece and it's like, yo, Emmanuel, what are you thinking on this turn, man? Like we could get full Madden on that one. I think that would be a super fun like tournament idea. Is like you could have like a trio team, like the team of 3, but you guys can have commentary throughout, and they're not going to be telling you how to play it, but just be like, all right, well, here's a lane, here's an option, maybe you draw this, maybe we get into this. I think that's fun, but it's so much different when you're the player at the table. So
I think we actually had something like that when I first started playing the game. I distinctly remember playing a 3-on-3 at an event in LA. I don't remember which event it was, but it was one of the first ones I ever went to. And I don't remember if we could talk. I mean, I'm sure we could because we're all sitting on the same side. Like all the teammates can see their own cards.
Was that FanFest, perhaps?
It must have been. Yeah, it was FanFest. There you go.
Yeah, I wanna bring one of those back. That's a fun idea. That's a fun idea on another time on that one. But so now back on over to you, Sam, because we finally got the deck list to load up. This dial-up speed and these live streams. We do it live. So I want to get into this list real quick. So this was your storm list. I'm gonna make one quick commentary thought on this one. This one, Alexander. There's only one of these. But I swear to God, I saw you play it 15 times in the 3 games I saw you on stream. Make that make sense.
So those are the matchups where that card is good. And when that card is good, it is arguably just like the best card in the deck.
Mm-hmm.
When that card is bad, it does nothing. There are a lot of matchups that I did find kind of throughout the day where it just like would sit in hand and rot, and it literally somehow is actually the worst card in like the entire deck.
Right.
However, against Mono Water and Ice Earth, both of which were my 2 streamed matches, it is an all-star. When your opponent has any amount of monsters, I mean, a free draw a card, kill a monster is just that's as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember sitting here thinking on like your guys' match, and Emmanuel, don't worry, I've got the clip. That one's one of the clips. I've got one of those loaded up. Commentary correctly points out that Emmanuel is playing the 13 strategy of water, and he's just like, I've just got to kill Sam dead in like the first 4 turns. And again, a good reason for that is because if he doesn't get value off those monsters right away, they're just going to get Alexandered, right? And the funny thing is, like, I laughed as soon as I looked over and I saw there was only one of that, and I was like, get out, dude. I saw that card like 9 times getting played. Like, and now I know we got Lulus and stuff like that, but I always just laugh seeing one-ofs anymore. Also, real quick, because I know my wife would be remiss if I didn't point this out. So Dryad is, for whatever reason, her favorite card. And there was at one point where we're watching the stream, and because I got so washed, brother, I woke up that next morning. I was on a plane and I was back home before the stream even started for day 2. That's how bad I was out of Texas at that point. But I was sitting there and I'm like, I turned the stream on because I'm like, I'm gonna be a gamer there in spirit. I'm sending my energy, putting all the energy for the boys. And then you and Emmanuel are playing, and Hannah's like, oh, cool. She's like, Sam? And I was like, yeah, I know Sam. He's a really cool dude. And then she was like, oh, is that Dryad? Because she sees the card. It's like one of the 5 Final Fantasy cards that she knows. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, I'm picking Sam to win. And then
that's a solid choice.
Yes. And then
I appreciate that, Hannah.
And then you discarded it. And then I don't know if she was on page with you. She was like, is he going to play it, though? And I was like, I don't know. He may not. It doesn't look like it's necessary on the board state. And she's like, I don't know if I like Sam anymore.
Fair.
So, valid criticism. Is only one Dryad. Hannah is confused why there's not a deck of 50 Dryad. More for that later. So obviously we adopted the Moogle package, which I think is becoming wildly more popular. So again, shout out to my boy Shane up in Canada. You're listening and watching and loving this content. A lot of this. So I'm curious, when you're building Storm, Sam, what are the absolutes? What are the ones you're like flexing on? Because these numbers, right? I think these cards are all staples, but the amount of how many are in there are always a subjective piece of Storm, I find.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, first and foremost, Althea, the second Althea was the 50th card. Brian Berkeley and I ended up playing the exact same 50. and he had come to Texas with Storm. He wasn't planning on playing the Moogle 11 package, and I was just like, no, trust me, there's just like it's so good, it's cracked.
Yeah.
Um, but he had a very similar list ahead of time. Like we weren't even like trying to like be in sync or anything, but
Mhm.
by the end of Friday night we were on the same page with everything.
Right.
But so Althea was the 50th card. I know a lot of people give us crap for not having three Zidanes. Zidane's a great card. It's really insane. It's so good in so many matchups. However, it is bad in a lot of matchups, and we don't really want to have to all in it
Mhm.
too often. The fact that we can search it out with Moogle 11, the fact that we can recur it with Ashura, which is, I would be honest, it's probably half of the uses of Ashura throughout the weekend is just Ashura back either Zidane or Luso
Right.
on one of those two having a good turn.
Win
Um,
Kusith at that point, right? Like,
yeah, it's but like being a 5K body is really dicey in the current format. Obviously, Warrior of Light's a thing. Tons of other things are ready for small bodies like that. Two drops are ready to get blown up by Ramuz, Ixians, etc. Um, I just don't want to be too committed to the Zidane strategy. So we really tried to make sure our assets were like diversified. And usually a lot of times with like the Storm deck, we are just like kind of digging so that I have more access to like more parts of the deck. So there are some turns where you're almost like storming, but you almost don't even have a reason to an extent where it's just like I'm kind of just churning through my deck so that I have access to these cards at a later turn.
mm,
So like you can assure us something back. So it's like as long as I'm leaving, card positive cards in my hand, or like, making sure the assure is staying in my hand or something, whatever else I'm throwing away is fine. Like I know against Emmanuel, early in I think the first game, because he had already dropped out a Titus and a bunch of other stuff. I was like early in that game, I think it was turn two, I just Stiltskin, I debate getting Evray or Luso, and I just go ahead and get the Luso. I want it out of the deck, but I want it in a safe spot so I can just assure it back at another point, because I knew that game was going to come down to being able to Luso his board to stabilize.
right.
We hit one into damage too, so I think that's why you went and searched it. You mentioned. I
Mm,
Yeah,
think we had
yeah,
one in damage.
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think that the spoiler. I think that's actually the third clip. So I have three. We already knocked one out. The next one is going to be a Sam sweaty clip, and then the third clip is you doing what feels like an incredibly unnecessary storm turn on it, but it felt like on board state. But that in part is one of the questions that you're kind of getting ahead of me on. Is what are your considerations for storm turns? Because I think storm is incredibly fascinating. I'm actually a wind gamer at heart, but Storm is just, I don't know, something about it eludes me in a way that I just cannot make sense. Like, I get all of the theory, but something about the execution when you put the cards in my hand, and I start making the turns, I think parts of me starts to wonder, like, what am I even looking for? What am I going for at a certain point? Am I just casting cards because it's fun and it's dopamine? Like,
I will say the Moogle 11s especially add a lot of like extra dimensions to the deck, and
yes.
definitely your play lines clearly open up
Mhm.
excessively because you're able to get any single card. And so when you're able to combine that with a Lulu, with a Chocomog, with an Ashura, with a Moogle 11, it's like, well, holy cow, we have quite a few lines. We could go search for any card out of our deck twice just with three cards. So it kind of gets very excessive very quickly.
Right. Um, so I guess the other kind of closing thought I would have on it is with this deck, I think the question you almost always hear with people is like, is there any? First of all, do you have any interest in wanting to play this again at, let's say, Raleigh or Portland? Not to, because I know something about pro gamers don't like having to put out their techs ahead. But is there a possibility these ever be a deck for your future?
Um, I personally love playing this deck so very much. That is a big reason why I wanted to play that, and then I blame Kyle Peters and Greg Cole for getting me a bunch of Japanese cards, and I'm just a weeb at heart, and I like playing Japanese cards because they look cool. So having Japanese locks, Japanese ukes, was definitely a factor in why I wanted to play it. But other than that, I'm a combo player from Magic. to at least a reasonable degree. I've played Storm in literally every format it's viable, and like that just really speaks to how I like to play card games. I'm either that or I'm a control player.
Right.
So that's a big thing for me. However, would I want to play this deck again? Not if I'm gonna deal with a lot of mirror matches. This mirror match is I played a pseudo mirror match against Pat in top 8, and I will tell you that is a rough mirror match. It comes down to a lot of Zidanes, and it gets very messy. I think each of us probably had like 5-6 cards taken from the other person's deck, because we're just hyper fixated on Zidanes and stealing the best thing possible from the opponent. And there were so many times where we just ram Zidane into guaranteed death, just to make sure that we drew another card off our opponent.
Right.
So it gets a really, like, if you think the deck is normally messy to play, it gets really messy in a mirror match. So if you're worried about that, a mirror match, I would stay very far away from this deck.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I teching out of the deck talk. I want to go into this next clip. Hold on, Travis. I'm gonna do a stream. Let me go ahead and put this up. Emmanuel, you'll recognize this one. This is you playing Sam in finals. And Sam, this is I want to know where your headspace is, but first and foremost, I'm going to ask Emmanuel. Emmanuel, so you're pushing this strat. We all know kind of how it all plays out, but can I say you must be the scariest person in the room right now, because if I'm Sam, like, you're on 6, you see this, and this doesn't feel that threatening, but by God, bro, I don't know. So first, I'll ask Emmanuel, is it just like good dopamine hits where you're just like, bro, you're already on 6, let's go, like, I'm just an aggro gamer? Did we just turn the brain off, and do we enjoy just being able to take or deal damage and not have to worry about EX that burst? Like,
yeah, no, 1,000,000%. I mean, we just shot everything we had at them. We just emptied the clip.
yeah.
Those poor blue worms, they didn't live very long, but but they did their job, before we could come down and just Alexander them. Yeah, that was 100% the strategy going into the finals. And actually playing Kyle McGinty earlier, I implemented a similar strategy, albeit not so all out. And also in my mirrors, I kind of implemented this kind of aggressive water strategy that was based on a couple of things that Oki and I talked about, because he was the one really training me on, how to play mono water. I've never played the deck.
Right.
And, one of the strategies for the mirror was, let's get to 3 and then start swinging with Titus, start poking, and, try to win that way if we're not going to go the deck out route. And so I kind of took that and made it faster and just played him off 1 backup. Or actually, I think in this matchup and in the matchup against Kyle, I would just, if I saw him turn 1, I would just pitch 2 cards and overpay and just get him down.
Right.
And I mean, in this matchup, I knew going in, I had, maybe a 5% chance to win, 10%, maybe if it's anyone other than, Sam or Pat, people who run the deck all the time, but
right.
He knows what he's doing. And so I was extremely unfavored. So that took a lot of the pressure off, to be honest. I was just kind of like, I can't even believe I'm here, because, going through Kyle's deck, which was an abysmal matchup, going through, KP, who's very good at playing this deck, just took it to, second place at the last event. I was just playing with house money, to be honest.
Well, and
So
I know
I was
we had
just
talked
happy.
at full length about the idea of just like, we're worried about qualifying first and then not having to sweat that anymore. Get that off the shoulders and get that off the mental stack. And like you said, at that point, it's all cash money at this point. But I mean, I know we reached second, or you're in finals, and it's just kind of hard not to sit there and just be like, all right, how do I kill something that is unkillable with this deck, right? Like, and I feel like that's the full on Einstein brain going on for you with like the
I legit thought that I might have had a chance here. I think, Sam, you said you had to draw the right color, which it was stacked to draw the right color, right? You only had two misses in the deck. But I think I just enjoyed making my boy here sweat just for a bit because
Yeah.
I don't think he was sweating at all the rest of the game or even game two. But having him on six was fun because I think my total turns in finals were probably like a minute and a half altogether if we're
Yeah.
chess clocking it,
Right.
and he's over here having to figure out how to live and crack back, which he did efficiently, of course.
Yeah.
But if Titus lives, I mean, we get in, right? Like, or he's got to target it, and maybe I, draw three, draw that Lena, and play the Leviathan. So I
Exactly.
didn't. It didn't feel bad. I mean, we did everything we could here.
Right. So Sam, you're on this side. You're calcing the numbers. You're sitting here and saying, okay, you got a control player background. You're comfortable at 6, but is there sweat factor to this, or are you looking at this and you know exactly what's going on? Like, what's the state of mind for Sam in this moment that you can recall?
I mean, I'll be honest. It it's not too, like, like you mentioned, is like being at 6 is one thing. I know this is, we're at the wall now. You got to push forward.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, just like everybody is being a little on camera, is a little bit jitters there. So it's just like, okay, let's, once you make up your mind on a line, let's double check that we're not doing anything else to kind of punt something away. I think, like, for example, against Ryan Chen, I think I played that matchup especially very cleanly.
Mm.
However, on literally the last turn before the end of the game, I almost messed up because, like, literally his last turn, I just slam out a Sid Hay, or slam out something. Um, and then I need to play Sid Hayes from my hand, and then I go to play Sid Hayes, and I look down, and I had tapped my one ICP. I was like, I'm an idiot. I'm a complete idiot. And then I look back up and I realize there's an Evray there, and I'm like, well, I got bailed out by my own card, but
Mm-hmm.
so Evray saved me, and so I'm pretty much just like, I do think this is my game to lose, but I do have to play this turn, pretty tight. Emmanuel has gone for a very, very good approach at playing me in a very, very rough spot. And, I think the first turn of the game, Emmanuel has went like, Chad is gonna roast me alive for this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just going for it, and he just slams out his hand, and at first I was a little surprised, and I was like, "Oh no, this is terrifying. Oh no, this is actually worst case scenario. Emmanuel, play a normal game, please." So as I'm going through the turn, not only am I calculating it once, but I'm definitely calculating twice, thrice, more so just so I don't punt away the game here.
Right.
It it is, really tight. As you see, I've spent like 2.5 minutes
You're
already just
spending a Europe
calculating.
amount of time on your turn here, Sam. I won't
Yeah.
lie. Actually, now you're looking very Melbourne right now, right? This is the Melbourne Cup all over again.
Yeah, and so I was
Rightfully so.
thinking,
Rightfully so.
obviously, looking through, the entire turn, is you have to when you have the Moogle, I had, when I was going for that line, you had to already have like a bunch of stuff kind of in mind. I
Mhm.
think this is the one, yeah, where I go ahead and get just a Lulu. There is one later, where I activate Moogle, and I definitely probably, I usually when I Moogle, I have something already in mind, but
Mhm.
that time it was 50-50 in between Chocobo or Izana. And I swear to God, you get to these situations where you're so deep in a turn and you haven't like physically played something out. Your brain almost seems to like start to shut down, where it's like you're trying to process through it and you're like, wait, how much CP is that again? Wait, how much do
Sam,
I have left over?
I have a question for you actually here because I don't play against I haven't played against Win in a very long time, so that actually was something that I'm kicking myself here about the Lulu, and I was thinking about it after again it's you probably had an out, but obviously I had the Amat Levy in hand because I played it on your Luso later, and that's what I'm kind of trained my brain to think, right? Let them do all their thing and then just Amat the Luso,
Mhm.
and then we win, in my head. And then of course you bounced it, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, I guess we lose.
Mhm.
But if I hit the Lulu right there, can you continue your turn as you did, or find a different line there?
No, I think if you had either hit the Lulu or the Atomos, I think the Atomos untap trigger probably would have been the most impactful. And that definitely was something on my mind on this turn as well, as I was thinking about it. And I was like, okay, well, I'll know by the time I get to Atomos if he's going to Amat. Or I
Yeah.
actually was thinking, I was like, he may respond to the Sid Hayes trigger, and then you didn't. And I was like, okay, we'll go to the Atomos. And it's like, well, as soon as you didn't go for the Atomos, I kind of assumed you actually didn't have it. Which, if I hadn't played, the way I had to kind of leave CP up, to still be able to Luso a second time.
Hmm.
Um, the Leviathan would have worked, but it, so happens I still had Althea available. So that kind of made it a lot more efficient. But if you had gone for the Atomos, I believe I was just very dead. I think that probably would have been the strongest spot to
Yeah, definitely inexperienced there against the matchup. I didn't play a single game against Storm. I didn't think it was going to be at the event, right? So definitely something to look out for now.
yeah.
Knowing what to cancel, right? Because I did have the spell in hand. It was just I in previous matchups I've been trained to just say, okay, let them do what they're going to do, and then just hit the Luso, and that's fine. Like especially when we have a Titus, he doesn't care. You can't block it, right? So my goal is just to keep him alive. But yeah, if I cut you off maybe mid combo there, even hitting the Lulu, I think maybe you just don't get to Luso.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you have been able to get it. That was a very big thing that I was considering, especially when I went to combat with the Sid Hayes. I mean, obviously, I was playing this out before I even started to go to combat, but that was one of my early considerations: is do I just Sid Hayes this Titus, knowing that he could have an Amat Leviathan, and then this whole turn may be for naught, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously I would probably get Titus dunked, and this would all be really bad. But not dying is also a chief priority right now.
It's
So
a line, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
line.
yeah, yeah. So it kind of gets a little dicey in between the two, because um, and there wasn't really a great way for me to kind of double check, in your hand, does he have the Amat Leviathan, or not?
Good to
So
know.
Yeah.
good to know. For the record, I would host literally just like a whole hour podcast reviewing footage on each other's stuff and just being like, so just kind of just being consultation and being like, what could I have done here? What could I retroactive? What do I need to learn about this matchup moving forward? Like what you guys just did is like a whole podcast waiting to happen, but I need to bother players like you guys all the time to be able to do it. So you can see why my hands are getting dragged on that one. But if you're watching this or catching this on VOD and you think that's a great idea, let me know in the comments below. What are some players you want to see do some commentary on matches? That would be good content for the future. Moving on past that, so I want to talk a little bit about the state of the meta. We've been in the past. We've been talking Texas for a minute, but I want to talk about kind of where we're at now with it. We are one major. We have one more major for this opus, and then we're in a brand new opus, and very likely a Sildra ban. Knock on wood, we'll see. But Emmanuel, I'll start with you, brother. So Sam just came out and won with Storm. Is just wind back on the menu, boys? Like, are we going to totally start seeing that? Is that going to be a floodgate? Is people just going to be like, I don't want to play with you anymore, mono water? Like, what's your prediction? What's the step ahead of the meta take right now? And why is it Leo?
Well, I knew that was what I was going to say. It's surely
Yes.
Mono Leo meta. That's what I'm playing next. So
I know you are, man.
freed myself from the shackles of having to qualify.
Yes.
I'm there with you.
Yes, Leo gamers,
See you there.
Leo gamers now. I've got the list up on my screen right now. I've been working on that Scion's Water Lightning one, but we won't get too deep in that because we'll be here for 2 hours.
Yeah, we will. We will. But I'll be in those
meta.
DMs later. You know me.
State of the meta. Yeah, as much as everybody knows I really dislike wind. And I'm probably on the other half, right? Because there's people who like you two really love it. I mean, if you're playing it, probably is really fun. Just like I have a lot of fun with Leo.
Yeah. Who doesn't like playing 9 cards in a turn, bro? I mean,
of course, it's fun for the player, and to the opponent, it feels a little bit like solitaire, which is something that I ran away from when I was in my dark days playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
I get it.
But so it kind of reminds me, so I'm a little resentful towards it. But it's a very strong deck. I mean, even if 50% of the player base hates it, it doesn't mean it's going to go away.
No.
So I think it's well positioned. I think, I think it's just a really healthy meta right now, man. I almost don't. I mean, I do want new cards, but I almost don't want Opus 20 to come out because I'm just like, it just keeps
Everything's been
shifting,
checking
right?
everything, right? So
It's
I
a
feel like
nice checks and balances system. 13 is obviously the answer to it, if there is an answer. And people are scared to play it, like you said earlier, because water's on the menu.
yeah.
As much as I didn't like getting bonked by 13 when I was, trying my hardest with Soiree, I mean, I like that it's in the meta because it keeps Wind in check. I mean,
Right.
that's all I have to say. I think Wind will be in the meta, especially after seeing Sam do well with it, and also Paris. I mean, there's no reason people who like the deck wouldn't pick it back up now, in my opinion.
Sam, I'll pitch it back to you. Do we think that Storm is just back on top, right? Because if you're hearing the rumors and rumbles of all the top players and competitive players, the only reason that people weren't playing is because 13 exists. But I think that we had to humble it for about 75% of the season, so to speak. And then know that, okay, the numbers are going to be at an all-time low. That's when it makes the most sense to bring it back in. But now, if you're a 13 gamer, you're just like, guns loaded. Now is my time to finally win a tournament. I don't know. What's your take on it?
Yeah, so I like more or less am and generally in line with everything Emmanuel said. I think he's 100% on the right track. I like the fact that we have, the rock paper scissors kind of meta. It really does allow a lot of stuff to be viable, but also kind of be checked at the same time. I don't think Ice Wind is the best deck. I think it was a good meta call for Texas. I think there were a fairly low amount of overall 13 players that were going to be there for the event. I was generally correct. There were only 2 in top 32. I will say Chris Neal was in my bracket. He and Pat Pat and I were both completely horrified that Chris was there, and just kind of like, we love you, Chris, and we want you to get qualified, but I need you to lose to have any chance of winning this event.
Did he get a qualifying thing yet, by the way?
He unfortunately did not.
Damn it,
So
Chris.
despite multiple top cuts,
he's so
he
damn
was
close,
not-
man.
Yeah,
It's so frustrating.
he undefeated in Swiss and Florida and this, and then
I still don't know how it went over him in the Swiss one. There's like, somebody's explained the whole Plinko machine that was the qualifying slots for, and it just tipped right over him. But I'm still not. I'm just like, it makes less sense the more it gets explained to me. But that's not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but overall, I do really enjoy the format. I think Icewind is a good deck. I do think it's kind of a messy deck to play, though.
It's
in the sense that,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like you can just kind of make a small mistake here or there and just kind of leave yourself very open and vulnerable. It's a deck that really relies on being able to consistently apply that pressure. If you ever like stop for a second, the opponent comes back and gets you. So it's very vulnerable in those situations. And I think, a lot of people just weren't really as teched or prepared for it, but I think they will be a little bit more so in the future. Other than that, obviously we've got Ice Earth, we've got, 13, we've got Ice Lightning, we've got the Warrior of Light decks, 5 different versions of them. We got Soiree.
Ice Lightning, let's not make too many assumptions, all right? We were doing rough before Wind came back, and now that Wind's back, we're kind of finicky. And now
I don't know. Ryan Chen seemed fairly confident that Ice Lightning was like my number 2 worst matchup. And my matchup against Tyler Ray was like really, really close. So it definitely, I don't know. I think there are just so many very viable decks right now. And I think that's a fun spot to be in the game.
Yeah, it's super healthy. Super healthy.
Right.
No matter what you choose, really.
If you look at a glance, right, if we go oversimplified for the meta, we could just sit there and say it's 13, Mono Water, and Storm, and they're rock, paper, scissoring each other. But then there's, to Sam's point, right, then we have Wool, and then we have Chaos Arc, and that's kind of its own little bracket of challenging one another. And then sprinkled throughout all of that, we have Ice Earth, Ice Lightning, Earth Lightning.
Soiree, yeah.
Mono Water.
Mono Water, right, exactly. Leo. Leo Gamers Rise Up. Man, I'm so stoked to see you play that.
You
I'm
know,
so mad
and
I'm not
just
qualified and I can't play it yet, bro.
I'm glad it's us three. You know, we're all Leo enjoyers here, having
Yeah.
a nice Leo conversation about the best card in the game, Leo.
Yeah. I was unsure if I was going to be able to invite Sam, and then I remembered that he was a hardcore Leo gamer and he did really well in Kansas, and I'm still like mad jealous of him because of it. Because I know me and Emmanuel, Sam, with no shade to you or anybody who was running Leo that day.
Yeah, I remember that conversation.
Behind the scenes, I'll go ahead and rat us out a little bit. We were furious. We'd been brewing in Tekken Leo for like probably a month plus at that point, right? Like we were so deep down the rabbit hole. Emmanuel saw me doing formulas and algebra to figure out what was mathematically the quickest way to get to like Leo online. And then it was just like, I don't know, it's not ready. And then here comes Sam crushing it. And what was it, top 8 or top 4 for you? And
Top
Top four, I think.
top 4
Yeah, top 4.
in Kansas with Leo. And I'm like, should have been me, Yu-Gi-Oh meme all over again. Like, just fist down furious.
I when I was going to Kansas, I told Kyle Peters, I was like, if I get qualified before Kansas, which luckily I did from my store championship, I was like, if I get qualified, I don't care what deck you're playing, I'll play it too.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And he's like, I think I'm gonna be a Leo gamer. I'm like, guess I am too. That's fine. I think I played it like the Wednesday before the event at like a local, and I only had 2 Thancreds because I only own 2 Thancreds, and I had a bunch of other like weird. I only owned 1 Larsa, so I only had 1 Larsa in the deck.
Yeah.
I had a bunch of other very jerry-rigged cards, and I played it, and I was like, "No, this deck's real. I love this. I'm all in."
Isn't it fun, man? It's just you just pull the
The
Leo
slot machine.
Right.
Yep. I will tell you guys, if you haven't played it, that lightning, the 7 CP lightning, that's
you
the
made
real card.
You
That
made me a
card.
believer about that after.
That's why when we were talking, I was like, damn it, that was in my final cut. I just didn't go to that event.
Like,
Because I've got that library of 6+ cost cards just always pulled up on my favorites, on my bookmarks. All right, which one are we going to throw in here today?
right.
And lightning felt good, and then it obviously plays off with the 3-cost lightning because it's another S, which is just such a nice little side effect. Because it does so many things you want it to do, right? It can get us cards back, it can remove threats. I mean, and that's why I'm so excited about this Water Lightning Scions. That to me is not a meme. To Dylan is not a meme. We'll see.
No.
Once Sam sees the list,
Right.
Because lightning stuff is just good. Like we like the lightning, we like the RNA. So now if we've got a few more lightning cards to play with it, and it doesn't kill our water plan, into oblivion like my earth water one does, unfortunately,
Right.
then we might still be pretty strong and just have a way to kill our opponent faster, which is what I think that deck suffers the most from.
Yeah, I think the speed on killing Leo or killing Leo's opponent versus other decks that's doing the same thing. That's doing like, let's set up for backups, and once by like turn 3, like that's the argument, right? If you're a tournament player and you're saying, okay, if on turn 3 I'm not really playing until then, I'm kind of just surviving and playing backups. Why would I play Leo whenever I can play, Warrior of Light, and I'm getting Warrior of Light back as an option? I get to get Galoofs out that can stay in and fight off 13.
Yeah, super strong stuff. And 13 is our nightmare for now.
Oh God, it's miserable. Yeah. Like it's so bad. But I guess we'll start to round out the conversation a little bit with still kind of talking future talk and things like that. So Manuel, obviously, I'm going to be in Phoenix. We're partying. For the record, have we got? This is something we shouldn't talk about on stream, but did we got the living arrangements figured out for?
We're cooking with gasoline, brother.
Yes. All right. More for that later.
Rainey's in the sweatshop right now, just just looking up every possible scenario to make sure you guys have the time of your lives. So, shout out to Rain Dog for being in the sweatshop.
Rainey, love you, girl. You're the best. I can't wait to be melting again. We leave Texas. We leave Dallas in record-breaking heats. And I said, you know what? I want to go to Phoenix next tournament 2 weeks from later. That says more about me than anything else. But Texas, dude, Phoenix is going to be a blast. Sam, is Raleigh next up for you, or what's next on the list? Unless you're randomly in Phoenix also.
Nope.
Nope.
Easy drive over to North Carolina for me. So
Yeah.
definitely going to be doing that, and I think that's going to round out the competitive season for me. I will be commentating for Portland, but
So jealous.
um, but other than that, yeah, I'll be doing that commentary, and then um, just over in North Carolina, and that's it for the season.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm hitting Phoenix, I'm hitting Raleigh, and then I'm fighting Portland because Dylan don't got a day 2 pass, and Dylan wanted a day 2 pass, and I already bought these tickets ahead of time. So now you're probably saying, Dylan, based on your performance this tournament season, how are you feeling about that in Portland? Fuck you. First of all, secondly, I do good at the beginning of metas. Here's what I'm going to pitch. I think I'm a decent brewer, and we are going to be in. If Silver gets banned, tier 1 is in a total shuffle for
let him cook. Let him
Yep.
cook.
Let him cook. And bro, we're seeing some good new cards. I'm already cooking with this 1 CP Tifa that just got revealed today.
Got some new spice already.
Unlimited attacks. First of all, what? I read that and I was like, no. Hold on. Once more. I thought we as a community established that's once more. But then from how I'm hearing it, it's just like unlimited attacks as long as you can pay for it.
Brother, you guys have a restaurant of cooks in that kitchen right now with that Tifa. I saw a lot of excitement.
Like 5 deck lists are already on the top cut for FF decks already, and I'm like, okay, bad, spitting, taking that. But but then it's just like so jank. Everything's Bart's Boko all of a sudden. Like, and maybe
Cowboy Tifa. Who knew?
Yeah.
And props to you for being a cooker. I try to do a little bit here and there, but like in like fighting games, you mentioned it before,
Yeah.
is being like a more of a brewer or a refiner. I definitely lean heavier on the refiner side. So I usually find something that I like and then just kind of tweak it a little bit to season to my personal taste. Whereas I'm not coming up with all new recipes too much over here. So
Bro.
That's a valid strategy, though, man. I mean, Oki said the same thing to me, and you guys consistently do well. And I think I'll speak for Dylan and myself. We love the kitchen a bit too much. We get high on those fumes.
Yeah.
And while we know what the best decks are, and we could probably pilot, relatively well, we're so stuck on these decks that we want to make work because they're so fun. And we do have a little bit of an edge. People don't know what we're doing.
Right.
But sometimes it's just not enough. And for me this last weekend, it was to the point where I was just like, okay, fine. I'm going to play the deck. I'm going to suck it up and
I'm going to get an easy, quick second.
Yeah. Easy, quick second. And the third or fourth biggest tournament in the
all right. I'll show up with a meta deck. Second. Done. Easy.
And I like that Emmanuel makes it like, all right, so in typical humble fashion, I know he's gonna be downplaying himself on this, but I'm gonna be the gas for him. Like, Emmanuel, both of you are a ridiculous caliber of player. So it's not just as simple as just picking up. Again, you picked up Mono Water like the week before, and you're like, hey, can I get a crash course? And sure, you got a crash course from Oki, who's a great teacher and he's coach, and we he's the main character. We all know it. And sure, you learned how to do Getsuga Tensho from Ichigo himself, I guess, if we're using Bleach meta on this one. But case in point, you still got to play. You got to be flexible with your brain all day. You got to go and play 7 rounds. You have to go
multiple going to like deep time.
Yeah, deep time.
I told him like after that match with KP, I was dead just watching it. I have no idea how he is physically alive after it.
Dude, I'm practicing guided breathing. I'm full on box in, 4 in, 3 out hold, which is the right way to do it for those wondering at home. But anyway, so I'm watching this and I'm like, bro, and like Manuel knows, I'm blowing up his phone literally mid-match. I'm like, I'm like thinking, don't you fucking check this phone right now. But also it's just like that fucking Titus just swung, beat that. Like, bro,
it's fun, man.
It was so gas. It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's not pretend that what either of you guys accomplished at this last one is not a monumental feat. As somebody who, again, I think I'm decent on a lot of days, just not any day in Kansas or Texas. But I think I'm decent on a lot of days. But top of one of these tournaments is insane. It's insane. And, I don't think anybody should be too surprised if they see your guys' names. I think you guys are both of caliber and have a very fair resume in this field. To be able to say, like, yeah, I wasn't surprised to see Sam Tuell's name in there. I definitely wasn't surprised to see Emmanuel's name on there, even though I know he's been hard on himself recently. But we got there. We got that qual spot. We got second. We flexed on everybody. As far as bigger picture plans and stuff like that. So we got word on Nats. We got this new sets coming up and things like that. I guess we'll kind of round out the episode with talking about this. As far as spoilers and things like that, as far as like this new opus, I know we don't obviously got the whole list, but from what we've seen, what's stuck out to you guys as like interesting cards and like super like neat ideas, maybe things cooking? Sam, maybe you're gonna be like, I'll let them cook and then I'll refine it. We've got our own spaces and places. But what do you guys find interesting so far in it? I can pull up some spoilers if we're needing inspiration.
Oh, brother, you don't need to pull anything up. It's already
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'll let Sam go because you know what I'm excited about.
I know what you're talking about.
It's good to let me go. I'll be nice, easy, quick, and then done. I'll be honest. I like don't look at spoilers until the whole set's done.
What?
Yeah, I'll like look at a card here and there, but like I don't try to brew. I don't try to. I wait till the whole picture is there. I just don't even like. I'll look at a card and I'll be like, okay, that's kind of cute, and then I like goldfish memory it out of the brain because it's like to me it's not a real card until like the whole set's out.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
So I just wait until everything's kind of there. It's like the Tifa's like probably the only thing I think that has really like stuck in my head, mostly because it's kind of just so out there.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm like itching to brew with it or anything. I'm just like, oh, that's a card. Oh, it says Avalanche. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Move on. So I'm like the worst person to talk to about like overall like everything with spoilers. But
Right.
so I'll let y'all cook for sure.
Good to know. Good to know. Sam's and you know what? More credit to you, man, because I don't have that patience. I'm already not sleeping tonight thinking about the Tifa deck I put together, and it's like, where does that get tweaked? Where does that get tweaked? Emmanuel, let everybody know what we're already on, because we're so, oh my god, we're snorting this up. Tell them.
Oh yeah, but before I just I will say before that, I do agree with Sam in that when we're cooking before the set, before it's fully out, I mean I do it all the time and it's fun, but I realize it's wasted time a lot of the time because then like just one or two cards just say like, oh wait, you probably can't even do this set because this is just going to say no, because this card that just we didn't know about is going to go in this super meta deck. That's just another tool for them to deal with what you thought was cute.
Right.
That being said, as long as we don't get another Amaterasu in this set, Grahatia, I am so ready to just go 4, 3, 2, 1 for my boy Leo.
Yeah.
And I also can't wait to get a modded into Oblivion after I've overpaid for it.
Also true.
But we're brewing some standard unit backups there so that we can go to 10K and at least make them feel a little bad about modding us. They still won't feel too bad because our whole game plan goes out the window. But
yeah.
Imagine just getting our 6, getting our 5, and then you on curve you just pay 4, and all of a sudden we've got 4, 3, 2, 1, and our boy Wonder is online.
Right.
And some of the other spoilers are cool. I mean, I saw the Estinian. Unfortunately, it just doesn't. Even though it's a sign and everything, I just don't think it goes in the deck that we've been brewing. I don't find the room for it because casting it for free. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the same text as Emperor, where the warp and the casting for free is the same. You get the same effect. It must be warped. Mm-hmm. So I'll be honest, I'm not really super thrilled about any other cards. I saw the Ject and I thought it was any forward. Mm-hmm. So, I'm a greedy gamer. So I started thinking, oh man, if we just, find a way to kill this, I can, do some fire water stuff. I can fanfrit my own Ject and play out a Leviathan on command. But unfortunately it is a fire forward of 7 or more. So I'm very sad, and that Ject is no longer sexy to me. Sorry, Lossley. I know you still think that Ject is sexy. Mm-hmm. He has lost all his appeal to me because he doesn't summon any element. We wanted to be real greedy with it, but it's still a cool card. I think it'll find a place in something.
For those who are unfamiliar with the Ject that we're talking about, it's a 5 CP eject, right? 5 CP eject that says when he
Yeah.
leaves the field. What's the exact wording? Hold on, I got it.
Yeah, I'm looking for it here. I don't.
We got the
remember exactly.
translations. I got you.
I actually got it pulled up too because you guys were mentioning cards. I'm like, I don't know what.
Yeah, Sam's like, I have no idea what these cards do. Jack, when Jack is put from the field to the break zone, you may search for a fire forward of cost 7 and play it onto the field. Yeah, so which makes sense thematically. You kill Jack, you get Braska's Final Aeon, which is a pretty sick. Like, I like the flavor on that. Spoiler.
Yeah, I also thought it was 7 or more. Is it just 7? I didn't.
7 or higher. Yeah, no, I actually just. I mean,
so he can thematically turn into Sin as well. I imagine that. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Thematically,
maybe
he
we
just
get
dies
Fire
and turns
Sin.
into Sin.
Yeah.
We could.
Why not? We've got bad or dark ones. Why not get like a good fire one? I mean, that would make special sense.
What else is like a big fire thing you pull out besides, I guess, like Philia?
You got Philia. I think that was one that people were spitting. You've got there's Zondi.
Zondi's cool. Yeah, Zondi's
Yeah.
cool. You got Ranjit, but I mean, you're just playing that for cheap.
Right.
So even though it's an 8, it's not like amazing.
7 CP Ramza is an interesting thought. Like we got the Warp Ramza, and that's like not a terrible card to play on that one. I mean, so if we're looking at cards there, if you guys want to know what the Brew Brain looks like, it just does this. We just immediately and search. Cyan actually isn't a bad option either, if I'm thinking about it.
I mean, you can build Samurais with it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you just go back to Samurai. But who wants to play Samurais in 2023? To be fair, like I'm sure there's some Samurai lovers out there that are gonna try to roast me in these comments, but like, guys, you're playing standard units. Come on, like. Play something out. At least you got Heian in there. Like you got that going on. Philia, I mean that's not bad. You sit there, you lose your forward, you wipe their board, you have a 10k on the board all of a sudden. That's like not a terrible reverse on board state.
Yeah, I like the Philia as probably personally that and like a Braska's Final Aeon. Probably the two things I would really lean towards.
It's cute. Like, I think you still need to be in elements that can help you break your own forward because they just never break it, right? So
yeah, I like your idea of the Famfrit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You just go fire water, you do that stuff. Yeah, and I love that on Twitter. If you're following the right Japanese players, they're already just spitting out cards for like the Tifa card, and they're just like, well, here's how you go infinite with this one. Like, shout out to Jan7122. Literally, and I've been liking his stuff because he's just like, bro, you do no, you do like this Oracle, I think, and then you put this ninja in there, and then he's like, yeah, even if you don't go out of your way to be infinite, as long as you have no, you can afford 7 attacks with just one like move with it.
7 attacks is quite a few.
That's in fact
that's insane.
As many as you need, and literally he's over here like, bro, hear me out. And I thank God he's posting pictures because, as you know, he's spitting Japanese and I don't know all of that. But he's like, all right, hear me out. Rosa, no, Chocobo. All right, we're cooking. And then he's like, Shulk, which I had to go reread this card because nobody knows what this card does off the top of their head.
God, no.
But if you deal your opponent a point of damage, she activates again. And it's just like, okay. And then I won't lie, I kind of get in on it because I got some jank idea, and I'm putting my jank out a little bit. We're going back to the Zzat Infinite, buddy. We're going him. We got Aerith. We got Barrett, who you include in that, and you just board wipe them with Barrett on the loop activations, which frankly sounds fun to me. And then you got Jesse to make her cheap, but then you got all the breakable FF7 backups, and we're just kind of going back and forth on that. That's the only reason I like Twitter, is to hit up the Japanese players because they wild over there, bro. But
oh yeah.
Without further ado, I guess it's time we got to wrap this up, and then we'll talk Leo for a little bit behind the scenes before I kick you guys all out because I want to play 16, bro. I'm trying to beat this game. But guys, we'll start with Sam. You got any plugs? Any place they can catch you? Any things they're looking forward to?
I do have a quick little video I have coming out in the next little bit. I was gonna go over like some of my matches as a little bare detail. I had a little spoiler at the end of it as well.
Oh, you got a spoiler?
I do.
You don't even look at them. Why do you got? I've been putting out content all semester.
I would donate. I would donate it if I could.
No, you're all right.
Maybe next season though.
I'll get one in 21, maybe.
Yeah, true. But yeah. Other than that, I mean, thanks to everybody I saw in Texas. Thanks to anybody who said congrats. Thanks to like genuinely everyone. Like I got to spend a bunch of time with Emmanuel and a bunch of other awesome people at our
So
Airbnb. Just seeing everybody at the event, anybody who shook my hand, said congrats or anything like that, I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to be part of this community.
Yeah, man. Emmanuel?
Yeah, man. First of all, shout out to that Airbnb. I think like 6 of the 8 top 8 we were all bunking together for better or for worse.
You guys are drinking Michael Jordan's juice or whatever
The
from
secret
the
stuff,
Space
man.
Jam
The
one?
secret
Yeah,
stuff.
the sauce.
Yeah. Whiskey is the secret stuff, apparently.
Figured.
But no, you say, man, there's too many people to name, and you know how these things go. We don't want to miss anybody, but
No.
piggyback off Sam, just everyone who supports and is just like super positive, you know, because I will admit that I am not always the most positive gamer. I do get down pretty hard on myself for not playing correctly or just performing poorly. And those people who just always keep it positive are just I look up to them, to be completely real. Like it takes a lot to do that. And I live a very high stress life sometimes, and gaming is supposed to be an outlet. So I've got to work on letting it be an outlet more than another thing stressing me out. And I've gotten a lot better at it thanks to some of these people who see me at an event, and if I lose around, they're like, hey, don't worry about it. Too many to name again, but Viridian did at this event. Berkeley always does. Oki always does. So just good peeps all around. Of course, shout out to the locals. They know we love them, and Coach Oki for getting me to get my invite.
Coach
that's all I got.
Shout outs to of course the store at Texas whose name is eluding me right now. Lone Star. There we go. I got there. Shout out to them for running the tournament very smooth. Shout out to the Texas scene in general. All the locals I played were super, super cool. And I ended up in the dumpsters, so I got to meet a little bit of everybody. That was fun. Like that's always my takeaway. It's like, do I want to just drop? And I'm like, I don't care about it. We don't have real ranks in here. So like I was just wanting to play while I was stuck there. And I got to play with some like really tight people. I got to play with some locals there. Obviously, it is always such a now anymore. It's like most of the reason I want to go to tournaments is to hang with the boys and catch you guys whenever I can with it. So that is always super, super fun for me. So being able to catch up with friends, being able to have a little bit of a homecoming there, that's always the best. Otherwise, I would say shout out to just, honestly, and then Emmanuel, you're already here, so I don't need to shout you out, but like definitely one of my hardcore training buddies.
No, you too, man. You too. And I think both of us would be remiss, and we're all on the same team.
Right.
Not to shout out the boy, Greg Cole,
shout out
for just
king.
Always supporting us, man. He is a king. Mm-hmm. Always there when we need him, and always supporting super hard, man. Great guy. Shout out the light.
Yep. So I think that's as good as knows we're going to get on any. If you enjoy the content I keep putting out on this channel, make sure to let me know in the comments below. What did you think overall? What did you like? What did you dislike? Is Sam and Emmanuel underrated? Yes. Make sure to give it a big thumbs up. So if you appreciate the content, hit the bell so you know the next time it's coming up. I probably will do a Phoenix recap. I don't know how quickly that'll turn around. If I just get washed in the Phoenix, I may not just do it. I'm gonna be like, all right, I just need to qualify harder on this next one, boys. Don't look at me. No, I'll still do it. I like putting out content. If I can be a little entertaining, I can at least bring that to the community. That's fine. But anyway, guys, that's our show. Make sure to tune in next event for that whole recap, that breakdown, and then I will catch you then. In the meantime, good luck at the next tournament, your maybe next store qualifier, and maybe I'll see you at Nats. Maybe I won't. I don't know. If I don't go, then I want to commentate in that. Screw it. I'm gonna put dibs on that because I want to commentate if I can't play.
You got a good voice for it, man. You got a good voice for it. You're good.
I think so. But I'm fighting Travis, bro. He's retired and he went full commentary, and I've got to fight him. And Sam's doing Portland now, so
just duke it out. Have a boxing match. Winner gets to commentate.
I think I got good odds on that. But that's more for another time, guys. Make sure to tune in next time. I'll see you then. Bye. Have a good rest of the evening.
Thanks for having us on, man.
Appreciate it.